He has been actually well known for many years. And of course, after that, I know of his first book, The Joy of Living. The most recent work came out saying that his brain is actually 8 years younger than his physical age. I wonder, do you have common troubles like our common people? But there is this gap, like, you need to almost make a jump, right? So from saying panic, being fearful, to, okay, I'm going to embrace it. How does that gap work for you? Because I think usually that's the biggest gap people need to step over. So I wonder, when you were building your school and think about education, what are some of the things or practices we can start doing in giving the gifts to our children? How did he grow up? Like, what's the emotional environment he was in? Was he yelled at when he was a child? If you are curious about these questions too, I hope you enjoy the interview to come. It's so wonderful to have this opportunity to meet you and interview you here. The first question, let's start with probably a simple one. Mm-hmm. I wonder, do you have common troubles like our common people? Like, mm-hmm. you travel, right? And then when you travel, you get to a new place, get used to a new bed, and then adjust to a time difference, right, and different food. How do you deal with it? Does that bother you? It bothers a lot of people who travel a lot.
I like traveling, and of course I like to do my own solitary retreat, alone practice, but also I like traveling and
mm-hmm.
meet new people, and special I like to teach meditation, mm-hmm. because these meditation practices really help me, it changed my life, and I believe that they benefit for others. So when I travel to different places and teach meditation, I don't feel tired. I feel very happy. But of course, sometimes I move, sometimes 3 days in different city, 7 days different country, wake up, and I don't know, where am I? Which country? The door is supposed to be here, but now
it's here. Yeah. And then I think many people know you as the happiest man on earth. But I read your books, and then I do crack up. I smile a lot when reading your book. But you did write a lot about your experience of negative emotions, right? So your panic attacks, your nervousness when you were growing up, your anxiety when you were growing up. I think a question many people have now is that now, since you're the happiest person on earth, do you still have negative emotions? Do you still get angry? Do you still get anxious at times?
I mean, the happiest person, I think, is just nickname. It's not like somebody who do the competition and who's happiest.
And you're the winner.
I'm the winner, not like that. But I had panic when I was young, around 8, 9 years old. So when I was young, my mind is very sensitive. I'm kind of emotional, easy to upset. Mm-hmm. If something slightly wrong, I feel not happy for a few weeks. Maybe these are the factors, I think. And then when I was 9, the head became very strong. I cannot sleep, tight here, cannot breathe. And I learned meditation from my father first. And when I meditate, it helps, but lazy. No matter what I call it. I love the idea of meditation, but I don't like the practice of meditation. So, sometimes I meditate, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it gets worse. Because what we call the first stage of meditation practice is a waterfall experience. So the example is when the river becomes muddy, we cannot see fish in the river. But then when the river becomes calm and clear, we can see a lot of fish in the river, and the rocks, all this piece of woods. But actually, fish are there from last time, but we don't see it. So therefore, sometimes looks like getting worse, but most of the time, okay. But then lazy. I don't practice. So on and off. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I joined in 3-year retreat in India, Shirapali Monastery. One of my root guru, Ajahn Rinpoche, he started 3-year retreat, first time in India. And I joined that. First month, wonderful, no lazy. Second month, lazy come back. So then I was thinking, what should I do? stay or leave. If I stay, almost 3 years
3
to
years.
go.
Yeah.
If I leave, I told my friends before, I can do this retreat. So I don't want to lose my face. But in the end, I decided to stay and how to learn how to live with the panic. So actually, I practice meditation, make friends with the panic. We can use panic as support for awareness, love and compassion, and wisdom. In the end, I don't have panic or panic, fear of panic, aversion. These are gone. Symptoms still there, tired, and all these are there. So, but I'm very happy. And when the panic comes, oh, now, my heart is beating up on my tight here, and the image and the voice, so many things. It's like watching a movie. And then a few months later, panic's gone. So since then, I don't have panic attacks. There's a strong anxiety is gone. Of course, sometimes we have panic. Sometimes we have stress, fear. But all these are okay. I don't mind deeper level. I always connect with awareness, compassion, wisdom. But the service level is up and down, up and down. Life is up and down. Life is like stock market. But that's okay, right?
Yeah, I remember vividly this example you used, which your teacher told you about the robbers on the road, right? So instead of hiring bodyguards, you could also negotiate with bandits. Yeah. But one thing I was thinking how, I think that's what you're talking about, the gap and then the awareness, meaning like, when you have panic, when you realize actually panic is a friend, you could invite them on your journey and use that almost as a way of achieving awareness. But there is this gap, like you need to almost make a jump, right? So from seeing panic being fearful to okay, I'm going to embrace it. How does that gap work for you? Because I think usually that's the biggest gap people need to step over.
Yeah, so it's not so easy, of course. So we have to have at least 3 steps at the beginning. So first step is don't watch panic. At the beginning, if you never learned meditation before, suddenly you watch panic, you don't know how to watch, and you may feel overwhelmed. So the first step is we need to learn, we need to get in touch with meditation, maybe with the sound, maybe with our own breath, what we call breathing meditation, or maybe with a mental recitation, come up a word and recite that in your mind with silence. Let's say, I'm fine, everything fine, I'm fine, everything. You close your mouth. So I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. You just repeat that word. And then the panic comes, don't fight it. Let panic come, let panic go. But your mind focus on the word. Don't try to fight with panic, but remember the words. Or maybe another thought comes, oh, what should I do tomorrow? Or to-do list, my deadline. Or I have meeting, or I have to meet this. Let this thought come. But just stay with the word. I'm fine, everything's fine. Some people use mantra, mantra of Buddha, or name of Buddha, or enlightened being, whatever. Just stay with it. So as long as if you remember the word, you can have anything. If you try to stop thinking, what happens? We think more. Let's say, don't think about pizza. Don't think about pizza. What happened? We think about pizza. Pizza comes all over the place.
Yeah.
So don't try to stop thinking, but don't try to lose in it. How you should not lose? Remember the word. Remember the word. Or the sound. Or your breath. I'm breathing. I'm breathing. Breathing in. Breathing out. So this is first step. So normally we have to take at least 1 month. Every day about at least 5 minutes. Then next is feel your body. And special gravity in the body. Sensation in the body. Maybe about 1 month. Then you can watch panic. Next step. So what is a panic? When you try to look at the panic is pieces. You need to watch sensation. You cannot find panic like that.
There's no shape or form.
No shape or form. What do you find? You will find sensation.
Yeah.
Tight, burn, and unpleasant sensation. And then you find image, video. And then the words. And behind it is a remove the fear of panic. So panic becomes 4 pieces. But you watch those 4 pieces. So now what we call, if you see those pieces, actually you're out of panic. When we see the river, we're out of river. When we see the mountain, we're out of mountain. When we see the television on the screen, we are not in the television. Just seeing panic is coming out. But no need to stop panic. When we see the river, you don't have blocked river. If you try to stop panic, that makes panic worse. Or some people, panic lose meaning. Gap. Cannot find it. Wonderful. Build the gap.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's what the practice you talked about. It's basically, it's interesting. I think I was really blown away by your statement, when you see the river, you're not in the river. It's so simple. But that's so true, because when you're in panic, when you see panic in pieces, you're actually already over, right? But sometimes your mind needs to catch up and saying, okay, we're done with it. The next question I have is related to your experience with your father, because you talked a lot about your father, and in the book you talked about it as well. A lot of my readers are parents. Yeah, so I wonder if you have some advices for parents when raising their children. What can they do to support the spiritual growth of their children at a younger age?
I think the most important is for the children, they have to see something. Children really want to imitate. But if you teach the child, they don't like it. Try to control, try to dictate, it only builds the resistance with the children.
Yeah.
But children like story. Maybe tell a story about the meditation, the practitioners, the lineage masters, or Buddha, whatever. So you can tell a story about the great being, and also story about your own journey, how you connected with meditation, how you help. And special, be kind. It's really important. Many people come to me and learn meditation, and they said, how can I teach to my children, my husband, my wife, my parent? And I told them, don't teach, show them. So if you try to teach your family members, go back home, meditate, awareness, and they feel. But if you change, if you transform, they will really feel curious. Oh, that really helps. That also very important. And of course, there's many meditation techniques. Creative also very important. With the play, with the different exercise, different way to connect with the meditation, with not kind of like not too long, not boring, something exciting, something playful. I think it's really good.
Can you share maybe 1 or 2 examples of your memory of your father? Like, what did he do that really impacted you?
So, for example, breathing meditation, somehow I don't know how to practice breathing meditation. I focus too much, I cannot find my breath, and I hold my breath. And then a lot of thoughts come, I lost. And he said, okay, let's do it with the hand. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So you can follow your breath with your hand. So that's quite easy. And as long as if you know your breathing, that is the breathing meditation. So like that, there's a lot of small but a lot of easy way to connect with the meditation.
Yeah, many parents would say they get angry a lot, especially with kids. So when you were growing up, were your parents ever angry at you?
Not with my father and mom. I learned my reading and writing with my grandpa. And he's very kind. But one time he's angry, that I remember. But I never got hit. In traditional, sometimes they hit. I never got any hit from beat up by my parents. Never. And they are very kind.
See, I think that's the way to raise a conscious being. Yeah. You mentioned your father gave you a task when you were young to try to find your mind, and you talked about it as well in your courses. I wonder if you could share a little bit with our audience, like, have you found it? What is our mind? Where are they?
So this is a profound teaching practice. So normally we don't share this. So there are many step-by-step practice, what we call experiential lineage, that we need to receive first, what I call joy of living workshop. So I do a lot of online. We have online joy of living practice, joy of living class, and in-person class. So level 1, joy of living level 1 is awareness. I talk about to aware about sound or breath, body, then panic, then open awareness. Then in the end, everything becomes support for meditation. Nothing which is cannot become support for meditation. So everything becomes your friend, your teacher. First step. Second is to find love and compassion within us. Actually, what we have love and compassion 24 hours. But first time when I hear this from my teachers, I don't believe that. How come I'm angry? But the deeper level of anger, still there's love and compassion. So then everything becomes support for love and compassion. Then wisdom, seeing things as it is. So these are 3 levels. Awareness, love and compassion, wisdom. And we have to do homework. If you jump for the next level without first homework, then it becomes dry, not understand, not become experiential. Then we have path of liberation. Level 1, mind create the reality. Level 2, then ask my question, what is the mind? So we don't get the answer. If we get the answer, then become dry, not experiential.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Indeed, it's a journey. So I think it's a journey. Sometimes it's hard to express with words. That's why sometimes your teaching is so enlightening, because it helps contextualize things, like people can understand it. One thing I want to follow up on the parents one is you actually wrote a book for kids called Ziji the Meditating Dog. I read it with my 8-year-old daughter.
All right.
Yeah, and then she actually gets it, because you did use that analogy of having a stick to stir mud in the pond, just like the fish you talked about. And one thing really struck me is that how easy it is for kids to get it. So they don't need to say, okay, I need to take 24 courses, or I need to read scripts, but they actually connect with it. But that's something I wanted you to probably share a bit more, is like, because many people, when they think about Buddhism, looking at people like you, they feel, oh, you're very far away in the mountain. Okay, so you have different lineages, it's so complicated. Like they're far from my daily life, where I have to go get a job, pay my bills, and send my kids to school. But that's not true, because Buddhism is in everyday life. Like, do you have some advice on how people can make that connection? Like things you teach, to like the common chores or common annoyances they have to deal with in life.
Yeah, actually the Buddhist practice, these meditations, really helps to everyday life, mundane life, because when we try to maintain our life or try to do something for successful, meaningful our life, there's always issue with our mind. So sometimes stress, sometimes we cannot find new ideas, sometimes we think too much, sometimes we don't understand the nature of reality. Then the emotion comes. So what the scientist said, if you have anger, you don't see reality. 90% what you see is infused by anger. It's not real. You have only 10% to see the reality. So if you base on hatred all the time in your office, you are making mistake every day. You may have conflicts with your colleagues, your boss, your staff, your friend, and even you change your office, you may create same environment in that new office, new workplace. Everywhere you go, it follow you. So then plus we have stress, depression, loss of steam, don't want to lose face, big problem, argument based on nothing. So how to work with that? One of the best is the meditation. And that actually really helps everyday life to bring peace in the family, workplace, boss, friends, and you will be more creative and more ideas, everything nowadays. Age of information. And that information, how to work with it, begin with our mind.
Yeah.
So I went to, since 2002, I have a lot of discussion with scientists, and I'm guinea pig, they put me in fMRI and EEG, and they have a lot of study about meditation.
Yeah.
And I went to Harvard, Berkeley, and special the MIT and special the Wisconsin University.
Right, where they did the experiment.
Yes. I went there many times. So what I find is that what scientists said is meditation really helps in life, for life.
Yeah.
And not only that, it helps body.
Mm-hmm.
So happy helps to peace in the mind, and it helps body, and of course it will help life.
Yeah.
It will help our life. We have become more successful, more meaningful, and the successful will help to us and others also.
Indeed, because that's how I felt as well. Because I think in modern education seems to be about accumulating knowledge and skills. Rather, we don't understand the basis of ourselves, like how our mind works, how our body works, and everything seems to be external, right? So in a way, we probably as human being has the best machine ever imaginable. But most of us are blind. We don't know how to operate this machine and how to maximize it. So that's why you said when, that word, very powerful, mind create reality. But I think many people, when they hear that, it was, oh, that's nonsense. Like this is a flower, this is a plant. I didn't create that, right? I didn't create the sofa. I didn't create this room. What do you mean, mind create reality? Can you explain?
Yeah, so for example, when we look at in everyday life, education is really important. We need to study when we are 3 or 4 years old, right? And at least until 18 years. If you don't do education, then we cannot live our life, especially nowadays. Or even you not go to formal education, you have to do education in the mountain, in the village, in the traditional education. Everybody has to go through that. You learn from your parents, family, social, everything. So who's educating in mind? All this knowledge, all this experience, all these habits, all these skills, we have to learn, start from our mind. For example, now maybe watching this video, and mind need to say, okay, watch this video, and you are here. And after that, okay, off, finish. Mind have to say off. So without the mind, you cannot do any work. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot do anything. So mind create reality, meaning two things. One is from the experiential aspect. So the name flower, who give name flower? Our mind. Perceiving this is flower, who does that is our mind. It doesn't matter. The mind is brain or beyond brain. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying, mind meaning the feeling, thinking, perceiving, the cognition aspect, the knowingness.
Yep.
So that is the mind. And I have a lot of discussion with cognitive science. What they say, even when you look at the world, 97% is in your mind. Input from outside. Mm-hmm. Only 3%. Only 3% coming outside. 97% what you see.
Already here.
All here. So that's in mind. And this is very important. If you mix up this, then you cannot see the world. You cannot get the right information. You cannot understand your friend, even though you think you're the smartest person in the world you created. The more you think you're smart, actually there's a problem. You make more mistakes.
Yeah.
So what we hear, what we smell, what we understand is based on our mind. And important how our mind to free this preconcept. It has to be with the reality as it is. For example, you just be with your breath. Just knowing by breathing in, breathing out. Then what happens? You are really witnessing the reality in that moment. You are really kind of like seeing things as it is. If you do that certain time, then you can look at the panic. You see panic pieces, interdependent, what we call first multiplicity, so many pieces, sensation, image, voice, background, belief. And these are second what we call interdependent. If you take out sensation, no panic. Take out words, difficult to find panic. Take out image, no panic. Take out fear or background, belief, cannot find panic. But they are connect each other interdependent. And they're changing and changing and changing and changing. So that's not only with the panic. Everything. If you want to start something if you work in company, you need to have a lot of cause and condition. So many pieces, right? Normally we don't want to look at the pieces. We want to have the result, shortcut. Straightforward, I need to achieve that. And you don't want to look at the cause and condition. And what do? Look at the smartphone. And all the time is gone.
You're waiting for your results.
Waiting for result. And next, I don't get that result. Why? Result cannot come if there's no cause and condition together. All these pieces.
Right.
To be aware of that. Once we make effort to join this piece of cause and condition together, we will have result. 100% will follow.
Yeah.
Result will come.
Right.
So all this because of our mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. I know you actually are doing a school in Nepal. We actually started school ourselves as well. And part of, I have 3 children myself. So when they were getting school age, I was thinking, okay, the schools are not the right type of schools. I wonder what are some of the things we could start thinking in teaching our kids, not only as parents, but in education, in training this mind you talked about. Because I think your example you mentioned is basically people actually see what people see are illusions, but they think that's real, right? And then they call it a vision or whatever. They fool themselves. But coming to see the reality is probably the most profound practice of life. So I wonder, when you're building your school and think about education, what are some of the things or practices we can start doing in giving the gifts to our children?
Yeah, so I was thinking like that, how to educate for children a lot. When I was young, in my hometown, we have a government school there. But the school system is not good, the teachers not so well trained. People who go to school, they become kind of like gang, drink too much, fight, and become thief. I thought this has to be changed. So then I received a lot of traditional teachings from my father. It is really beneficial, easy, and that has really helped my life. Even though I'm very sensitive when I was young, having all this panic. I was thinking to bring this awareness, love and compassion, wisdom in the school curriculum from childhood. And nowadays there's a lot of mindfulness and meditation program in USA. There's a lot of research that if the children in school, they meditate, they learn better, they're more happy, and they become more creative. And later, their life becomes more successful and meaningful. Otherwise, Now our normal school curriculums are based on competition, pride, intellectual, and then you get a lot of trauma. Even though you learn a lot, but then you have to deal with the consequences. Yeah, entire life, and that is very expensive.
Yes, absolutely.
And wasting a lot of time and struggle. So if we can nurture children from childhood, and especially we can combine the modern education. So whatever modern education now, from the meditative aspect, become every year close to the principle of the view of meditation. This meditation lineage is 2,500 years old. Very tradition, but it's become very modern also. Like timeless.
Yeah.
So what I see is can combine together. If we combine this together, they can learn the modern education even deeper, more easy, with the play, with the fun. But they have there's some transformation comes.
Yeah.
For the personal life. So that's what we are doing now.
Yeah.
In the park.
Yeah.
So we will start this slowly. So it will take some time.
Yeah.
Big project, so not so easy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because I think, but maybe the challenge is, as you said, is the adults involved in this need to see this themselves. Because otherwise, I feel as a parent, sometimes as an educator, like we as adults are probably the biggest blockage, right? If we don't see it ourselves, and then we have a lot of unresolved emotion or illusion, and we bring them to education and call that in education's name. Yeah.
So you mentioned about my children book.
Right.
There's two books.
Yeah.
First is Ziji.
Yes.
Puppy who learn to meditate.
Yeah.
And second is Ziji with the scary man.
With a scary man. Okay, I'll find that book.
So the idea is, first, we educate parents. So we ask parents to read this book with children. So parents can learn. And by learning parents, also the meditation, then can help the children. I think it's really important if the parent also engage in meditation. Same with the teachers.
Right.
So that the teacher embody that what they're going to present to children. I think that's really beneficial.
Yeah. I think you're too kind. I think it's not only it will be beneficial, they have to do it. Right? Because I think if they don't do it, it's hard to teach because it's not just words.
Right.
Yeah, it's the practice, as you talked about. That's very inspiring. I hope the school project goes well. Probably many people are curious about your experience of this retreats you do on your own in 3 years. So I wonder maybe there's a very layman's question. I think one is, how do you sustain yourself in those 3 years? Like, how do you eat? How do you take a shower? And second is, how do you plan for that time? Because you're on your own. Yeah.
So this is what we call wandering retreat, special style. So we let go of everything and go on the street. So I did that at the beginning. It's very difficult. So I almost died with the food poison.
Yeah.
But then.
So you ask for food. Basically, you go.
All the money finished. I beg food.
Yeah.
And I got the leftover. And that I think not so clean. And I have diarrhea, vomiting diarrhea for 6-7 days, 5-6 days. And then almost die in the end. And my body become paralyzed. I cannot see, I cannot hear. And there's a dissolution, what we call when we die, 5 elements dissolves, falling, floating, and then in the end almost become unconscious. But I stay in awareness, and awareness become more present, more clear. It's beyond thought and emotion. So joyful actually, no front, no back. And I stay there for 6-7 hours. And then I come back. I didn't die. So when I come back, I'm alone on this very dirty street in India. So now street become like my home. And when I look around, everything's so fresh, so alive. Look at the tree, what I call tree of love. So after that, when you love the world loves you back. So actually after that, everything quite easy, become quite easy. I know how to bake food, I know how to survive, and I went to many places in different part of the winters. I go down to the flatland in between India and Nepal. Summer, I go into the Himalayan mountain, and quite nice.
Do you know where you're going? Like, do you have a plan for the day? Like, I'm going here today, or you'll just wander?
Sometimes I'm thinking, oh, I want to go to that holy place, like Milarepa holy place. I went to Lakchi. One whole summer I was there, so I had to make plan. And sometimes no plan. Tomorrow, oh, I want to go this way. And within few hours, I change my mind and I go somewhere.
Yeah. But do you allow yourself to be comfortable if you find a nice village, like there's food, like, you know, people respect you? Do you move on or do you stay?
I stay for a few months someplace. When, like in one time I went to Langtang in Nepal, one of the holy places. And village people are very happy. Oh, meditator, come in the cave. They bring food, and they ask me some prayer, and then slowly they ask me some teaching, and in the end become kind of like many disciples. So that I moved another place.
Yeah,
but they don't know who
you are. Yeah.
And after I come back, they all come. Oh, we didn't know you are Rinpoche. Sorry. No.
What's your biggest learning? Like, why do you do these retreats?
So there's two things. One, what we call the meditation practice to engage with the difficult situation in life. So challenge, problem, all these are enhanced for practice. So ongoing exploration on the path first. Second, I have this name of Rinpoche, so teacher, precious, Rinpoche meaning precious, teacher. So I have many students wherever I go. And I have very nice food, nice place, so I'm in cocoon.
That's true.
So I go out of there, actually I learn a lot about the life.
Yeah.
How to survive.
How to beg for food.
Yeah. So many different, totally new perspective. So that was important.
Yeah, the last set of questions I have is more around today's world. So I remember this very profound response you gave in one of your talks. People are asking, you know, what do we do when we live in the age of anxiety, right? As if today we're living in a huge age of anxiety with conflict, suppression, you know, different regimes, dictatorship, and technology at the same time. And your answer was very enlightening. You were saying, actually, even from time of Buddha, it was an age of anxiety for them. And Buddhists offered a third way, which is instead of you run away, which is the first way, or you give up, right, or surrender, the second way. The third way is to face it, look it directly in the eye. But I think that's pretty to many people that's hard to do, especially if you're living in a suppressive environment. When you're surrounded by violence, people have guns, right? People can put you in jail. So when you face it, you might cost your life, or at least your freedom. And that makes people feel very small. Like, I'm very tiny in front of a big machinery of lies and violence. What's your advice to people feeling that way? Because I think there are many people who are, you know, having that kind of mental state right now.
So what Buddha is saying is, don't fight with your afflictive emotions, such as hatred, craving, confusion, or panic, anxiety, depression, all this. If you fight with this, they'll become bigger. It doesn't help, get worse. But if you give up, if you listen and follow them and give up, then big problem also. So first important is what Buddha said, how to deal with our own mind first. Of course, sometimes we cannot change the situation. The outside, we cannot change the right way. Environment, we cannot change the right way sometimes. But our mind is always in our hand. So we can change something, the inner transformation. Once we change inside, then that can create the environment sometimes. So from transformation from inside out is very powerful and also quite easy in a way. So therefore, how to transform inside first? As I mentioned before, I had panic. So first step is you cannot face panic directly. So you have to practice a stepping stone. So I mentioned 3 techniques, but there are many other techniques also. So sound, breath, mental recitation. In that time, you need to learn how everything let them come. So 3 things here. As long as if you still remember the word, you still remember the breath, that means you're not lost. You still remember. So you're not give up. And you allow whatever comes, that means you're not fighting it. So you're learning this very important life skill with your breath, with your mental recitation. You cannot learn with the big thing at the beginning, but you have to learn very subtle and easy way. So, not give up, but not fighting. You are being with the breath or sound. Then slowly come to the body. Then slowly you can come to your mental reflection. But at the beginning, maybe you cannot deal with big emotion. So I cannot do with my panic at the beginning. And I find some other destructive emotion, which is anger. I cannot directly face with my panic. So what we call, you have to start with a small destructive emotion. So I choose anger. I'm not easy to angry, although I'm easy to upset or fear, but anger is not my major emotion. So I face with anger. I can do that. I build some kind of experience how to use anger as support for my meditation. So I make friends with anger. Slowly I come back to the panic. So normally there's 4 steps. Watch, to be aware, face it. If it's difficult, try something different. Meaning, look at the small emotion, or back to breath, sound, mental recitation. Third, step back. Don't watch emotion. Watch behind the emotion. Emotion behind emotion. For me, the fear of panic, aversion of panic, panic of panic. 4, take a break. Very easy one. Sometimes you feel tired. Sometimes you don't want to meditate. Sometimes you don't want to do all of those. Okay, take a break. Do physical exercise. Sleep. Read book. We know how to take a break, right?
Yeah. How does it then relate to the external environment? Can people may still have that question? Well, if there's somebody who's forbidding me from saying my mind, who's threatening to put me in jail, how does this help?
Let's say if you are in the very extreme environment, someone pointing gun at you, what do we have to do? The first important is we have to work with our own emotion. Fear, anxiety, hatred, anger. Try to bring awareness with that. Of course, you have to learn first step by step. You cannot do right away. Once we try to transform our emotion, we get new idea. We will find a more good solution. Maybe we will have strength in mind, the courage, not fear, but mind calm, connect with compassion. Maybe we can deal with that person. Maybe we can run nicely. Or you can find a lot of solution in that few seconds if we know how to work with our emotion.
Yeah.
If done, we do a lot of mistakes. Then what happened? More problem in that situation.
Yeah. One of the more depressing aspects of human history is that if you really read into history, no matter if the West, the world, Asia, or China, it's a history of war. So it's basically a lot of suffering and war. And then, and many of people who are really looking into it, students of history, would feel depressed, right? They feel pessimistic of the conflicts and we cannot deal with. And even the Buddhism has been butchered many times, right? Monks have been killed, many things have happened. How do you stay hopeful?
I mean, the Buddha said, the external enemy cannot really diminish Buddha Dharma. So although there's a lot of up and down, there's a lot of problems, but bigger picture, when you look at the bigger picture, Buddhism become more flourish. There's some obstacle come, of course, at that time quite difficult. After that, more flourish. Obstacle become opportunity. Problem become, in a way, solution. So that has happened when we look at the entire history. But of course, there's a lot of cost, a lot of problem, a lot of hardship during those moments. But the most important is what we call don't give up. Learn from problem. Grow from obstacles. And you can develop your inner wealth, inner peace through the problem. So what I'm saying, I'm here because of my panic. I'm teaching this meditation because through my panic, because of panic, I seek this path of meditation. I learn a lot, and I'm teaching now. Without panic, maybe I'm not be here.
Thank you. That's a great lesson. Indeed, all the problems are here to make us better.
If you accept how to learn from it,
right?
How to grow it, the problem become solution, obstacle become opportunity.
That's the last one I can add is, well, your part of your teaching is path of liberation, right? And I think liberation is what everybody's seeking, because at the end of the day, the life purpose is about happiness, and happiness comes from liberation. But is there a simple way for you to explain what is the path of liberation? Like if there are some of the viewers, like they're not, deeply practicing Buddhists, how do they also gain a glimpse of the path of liberation?
So the real liberation meaning we all have this wonderful nature, what we call basic innate goodness. So everybody has potential, everybody has this wonderful, unique quality that possess. All of us, we have awareness, we have love and compassion, we have wisdom, we have skills, we have talents, we have potential, we have capacity. A lot of things within us. But the problem is we are not recognized that. We don't know how to connect with that. So the liberation part of liberation is to connect it with our innate basic goodness. Once we begin to connect with that, we are free. Meaning, actually we limited ourselves and we put ourselves into our own prison.
Mm-hmm. And we hold the key.
We hold the key.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.